Hello and welcome back to the channel, folks. HeirofCarthage here, and welcome to the Battle of Ephesus. Did you need some more Pergameme in your life? Were you sitting around thinking to yourself, you know, that meme faction from Rome 2, I haven't seen them in way too long. That's what most of us think most of the time, because we all need a little more Pergameme in our life, and thanks to Hotel Soap, we get to see some today, so appreciate him sending this replay over. This is going to be Pergamon versus Parthia, whereas Pergamon is more affectionately known as Pergameme. They're going to be slingers up front. There's 3 of those. And then we're going to see a line of Galatian swords. This is probably one of the more efficient infantries that Pergameme has. They are not bad in terms of attack and damage. Their defense is, I guess, okay, considering that, again, they're not like a heavy infantry unit. It's really their armor that they're lacking in, and probably health, compared to more expensive units, but then again, maybe, yeah, a little bit of health difference there compared to these more elite units back here. So we're going to see an Agema Spear, which is essentially an elite Thurios Spear, so multiple javelins, good against cavalry. Looks like I see 3 Agema Spears, 4 Agema Spears, and a pikeman in the back with a picked peltist. This is a high ammunition peltist unit. It is actually decent in melee with pretty high armor. Afterwards, very expensive. They can be difficult to make worth your while. And then in the back, we're just going to have a bunch of light horse here for Pergamon. Pergamon does not have access to good melee cavalry. They do have all these light horse, and they also have Pergamene noble cavalry, which is a not super cost-efficient lancer cav, but it is certainly the best cavalry they have to offer. You can see that we have 3 Parthian horse archers here teasing the light cavalry and dealing them a lot of damage. So these light cavalry look to be going for maybe a surround to see if they can catch this. This may have been purposeful for Pergamon to just attempt to chase down here. I don't know if it will work. It might, because now they have multiple units over here. So we'll see whether that gambit pays off. Of course, it leaves Pergamon completely exposed to Camel Cataphracts, Mercenary Persian Cav, Royal Cataphracts. The Mercenary Persian Cav is a Lancer Cavalry, and then the Royal Cataphracts are also Lancers. Everything's Lancer Cav except for this Median Cavalry there, which is a pretty decent heavy, well, I was about to say heavy, it's actually medium melee Cav. We've got some Eastern Slingers up front, good slingers. They're not the best, but they're pretty solid. And then we've got some Parthian swordsmen here in an intermediate line. So Parthia is definitely going to want to skirmish some if they're given the opportunity. However, Pergamon does have the slingers. They can put a little pressure here. Looks like the light horse maybe did chew up at least 1 horse archer. There are still 3 remaining. And this one has taken a little damage, not a lot. It looks like the light cavalry, though, is just going to go full Leroy Jenkins pursuit here. And it is going to score. It is nearly as fast as the horse archers, if not as fast. I think this is very light cav, and then you have the light cavalry, so a slight speed advantage probably for the horse archers. But once they hit charge speed, they might be able to catch up, so it looks like 2 more horse archers going to fall. This is actually going to end up panning out fairly well for Pergameme. Killing off these horse archers is going to be a pretty big gambit. Honestly, the picked peltist combined with the, there's 2 of them by the way, combined with the Agema Spears could be absolutely deadly to the Parthian cavalry. Interesting, Agema Spears are going to come up front and toss their javelins into the Eastern Slingers. They've got pretty good range on those javelins. This guy's got an arm on him. Olympians in training here. So they're going to push Parthia's slingers back, and that's obviously a gambit to try and keep their own slingers alive longer, because Parthia's slingers are better. They do more damage. See him here pouring fire into this Agema Spear. Agema Spears have a good shield, but no unit in this game can sit here and just cop a bunch of fire for forever. You know what I mean? Like they can't take it forever. Probably your best resistance to it is like a Roman Testudo, but even that will take some health loss slowly over time. Look at that, Agema Spears just being aggressive here in terms of sticking it to those slingers, and this is allowing the Pergamene slingers to move up and fire as well. So kind of a combined arms tactic here against the Eastern Slingers. And honestly, it's going to be pretty good for Pergamon if they can pull this off to some extent. If they can at least drop the number of Eastern Slingers fairly significantly to be good. However, in some ways this is kind of a win for Parthia. All of these javelins that get unloaded from the Agema Spears into the Eastern Slingers means javelins that are not unloaded into the elite shot cavalry of Parthia, so we'll see how that one balances out in the end. Kind of Median cavalry chasing this light horse. It looks like most of the horse archers gone, not all. It looks like there's one unit back here that is near full strength, so not everything gone there. And it looks like a Eastern Slinger routing. It'll probably come back. The Pergamene Slingers are hurt pretty good, and one of theirs is hurt really bad back here. So let's see how this continues to play out. Again, interesting strategy to see the Agema Spears unloading their javelins on a non-cavalry target, but we will see how that turns out. Agema Spears do have a fair few javelins. Alright, so the skirmishing maybe about to start again. We got that Eastern Slinger up front and then one there. This one came back from routing. Let's fast forward and kind of see what the next step of the skirmish is. Getting a huge bunch of frame drops right now for some reason. Alright, there it goes. Yeah, I did not like fast forward right there. And apparently my voice did not like to continue to speak either. Dang, those mercenary Persian cap just took some hits. Looks like the slingers are going at him here, and then the Eastern Slinger there just really ate the javelins. But the Agema Spear General has gotten hurt bad in the course of this by the Eastern Slingers, and those Agema Spears have taken some damage. Interesting. Parthia is going to be forced to attack. They're just not going to have the skirmish power left. I'm wondering if the Agema Spears are going to tank the charge and then back it up with the Galatian Swords. Yeah, they're going to go into a square formation here. Maybe take the charge, yeah, and then let the Galatian Swords fill in. Galatian Swords would get murdered by that shot cavalry on the charge, so it may be Pergamon's best chance to try and kind of break some of these charges, allow the swords in, and then try to focus the cavalry with the picked peltist. Right back here you can see the picked peltist kind of trading shots with the horse archers. You'd love to have a slightly more valuable target. However, that picked peltist will absolutely level cavalry units. See how this Galatian sword does against the Parthian sword. It ought to be pretty good. Parthian swords are pretty mediocre. They're better armor and defense than a Galatian sword, and better health. But the Galatian sword is much more offensive. Agema Spears are not going to be amazing, but they're not a pushover in melee. They've got good armor and then solid defense. And for a spear, they have respectable damage. It's not amazing. It's not the 30 damage spear that we love so much. Ooh, look at this. Between a rock and a hard place. Persian cavalry hitting them from both sides. That Galatian sword got pincered in a very bad way. This picked peltist, eesh, they took a Persian cavalry charge. Their armor will help them a little, as will their melee stats, but they're not going to want to be stuck in a melee with cavalry. They need to throw their javelins really to get their money. There is another one back here. They're certainly going to want to get away from those hillmen. Picked peltist is way too valuable to be stuck in that kind of fight, so Pergamon needs to try to do something to extricate that unit. However, for a missile unit, is holding up very respectably right now, considering how hard it's being hit in melee. Look at this. Agema Spear being just completely sandwiched between two units of heavy cavalry here. Mercenary Persian Cav and the Royal Cataphracts trading blows on it. And then it's also fighting swordsmen, so Pergamon's front line is being savaged by Parthian charges. But Parthia's cataphracts, look at those camel cataphracts, just really eating some damage here. And that picked peltist should have enough javelins to really chew up that royal cataphract as well. Look at that, the picked peltist, it held on. It took some casualties, but it held on against that heavy cavalry and the hillmen. What a boss move. They're going to get pulled out of there and be able to throw more javelins. Wow. The Pergamene general is in some pretty serious duke here, trying to get away from a Parthian swordsman. And then the Agema Spear up here trying to hold out against a Parthian sword. But so Pergamon has suffered some pretty heavy casualties, but if they can tear down a bunch of these royal cataphracts, they've got a very real chance here, I think. Power Bar thinks that they've got a better than fair chance. I think it depends on a few things, but yeah, if this Royal Cataphract can go down to the Picked Peltis, and this is the kind of target you want for a Picked Peltis, by the way, something real expensive like this to put those javelins into and help it pay itself off. Now, you obviously don't want to be in melee with said target. Ooh, javelin from the Galatian swords as well. Those Royal Cataphracts took some damage, some serious damage. So I definitely see Pergamon pulling this one off. Those Picked Peltis ought to have a little bit of ammunition left, and they're going to be a grave danger with their javelins to every Parthian unit left on the battlefield. The Royal Cataphracts there down to 11 and wavering. Possible that the general died in that last attack. I don't think so, though. We're going to get a trample charge here. Kind of a last-ditch effort. Here comes the Picked Peltis. They must have spent their javelins or just feeling confident enough to charge into melee. I think they've spent their javelins. This other unit's still throwing some. And they go straight for the Royal Cataphract. It's down to 6. So Pergamon's going to pull off a pretty comfortable victory, and I would say that one of the things that Pergamon can do, to an extent, is play a little bit of anti-cavalry against a faction that doesn't really have solid elite infantry. I don't think Pergamon's going to do well at all against elite infantry, but they can play a little bit of this game against cavalry because they have the Agema spears. The cheap skirmishers give them something to work with, and that was an interesting use of Picked Peltis. I'm curious to see what their value may look like. Not a ton of kills on them, but I mean, they were going after cataphracts, and javelins are extremely effective against heavy cavalry, so an interesting choice. And I think those light horse did pay off. They very much limited the kills on some of those horse archers, so I think that definitely was something that paid off quite well. So an interesting battle here. Appreciate Hotel Soap and Timberlane for playing this one. A couple of very fun factions, good play from both players, and then ultimately, of course, here Pergameme taking home the victory. Hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you soon with some more action in Total War Rome 2.